Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. Today is the 4th day of April 2020. Thank you for joining me in my continuing educational series, outlining the differences between licensed and regulated naturopathic medicine and conventional MD-directed medicine, especially in the light of the coronavirus epidemic. I recently recorded a video on demand where I educated world's leading experts in the field of licensed and regulated holistic medicine, naturopathic medicine, and holistic medical research. It's a 2 hour and 45-minute long video. It comes along with a 13-page PDF document which gives a synopsis of the prevention and treatment strategies that my colleagues recommend. You can get more information about that at riseupintohealth.com, and I encourage you to do so because, let's be honest, most people don't even know how to pronounce naturopathy, let alone know the training, the licensing of a naturopathic doctor, or what naturopathic therapeutics can do. And as God is my witness, naturopathic medicine should be the first, second, and third interventions that mainstream medicine does for viral infections. But we've been kicked out of the medical arena for over 108 years now, and more on that in just a minute. Today's presentation, why do people die from COVID-19? Well, that's an interesting point to ponder. If it looks like a duck and flies like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Now, we're going to get into the realm of cognitive dissonance here, which means that some of the concepts that I will be presenting might make your brain twist. Like the fellow said, you're welcome to your own opinion, but not your own set of facts. So as I lay out these facts, I would like you just to consider the possibility that my perspective is in fact correct. So, the incidence of chronic disease in America, the rise of chronic disease in America is startling. You know that show, Orange is the New Black, right? Well, disease is the new normal here in the United States. 6 in 10 of adults in the United States have a chronic disease. These data from the Centers for Disease Control, by the way. 4 in 10 adults in the U.S. have more than 2 diseases. The leading causes of death and disability and the leading drivers of the nation's $3.5 trillion expenses in annual healthcare costs. By the way, last time I looked, if somebody is spending money, somebody is collecting money. So these numbers are always pitched to you as the cost of medicine, not the profits of medicine. So what this means is that we as a country spend $3.5 trillion a year to the MDs, the insurance companies, and the pharmaceutical industry for the privilege of being sick. They're making $3.5 trillion off of our backs, and while they have been in exclusive control over the development and the delivery of medicine, heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, and every other illness is getting worse. Leading cause of death, according to the American Heart Association, heart disease followed by cancer, lower respiratory diseases, accident, stroke, Alzheimer's, etc., etc. However, they left out a data point here. Approximately 784,000 people a year are killed by MD-directed medical treatments. Now, I'm not saying that medical doctors are sadistic or they are intentionally killing people, but the numbers are in. This is what the numbers look like. MD-directed medical treatments inadvertently kill 784,000 people a year, which makes MD-directed medical treatments the leading cause of death in the United States. Again, you're welcome to your own opinion, but not your own set of facts. MD-directed medical treatments are the leading cause of death, and since the MDs have been in charge, chronic disease grows. It does not get better. It grows. And this is the new normal, right? Look around. Everybody's sick all of the time. So when everybody is sick all of the time, we think, well, sickness is just an inevitable result of being a human, but it is not. It is an inevitable result of being treated with MD-directed allopathic medicine, which we'll get into the details of in a moment. Diabetes skyrocketing. It's big money, by the way. 1 out of 11 Americans, 84 million Americans right now have prediabetes or are at the risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Every 21 seconds, somebody in the U.S. is diagnosed with diabetes, and that's not because of a bad gene, and it's not because of chemtrails, and it's not because of cell phone radiation. Chemtrails are real. Cell phone radiation is real, but the reason that diabetes and every other chronic disease is escalating is because we don't have a free medical market. And like the fella said, follow the money. The total cost of diabetes and prediabetes in the United States is $322 billion, which means the insurance companies, the hospital industry, the MD industry, and the pharmaceutical industry profits $322 billion a year on the back of your suffering. Heart disease. Heart disease rates are going up. In some instances, they've leveled off, but more or less, just as many people get heart disease now as ever have gotten heart disease. However, the thing that the MDs are good at is keeping people alive with heart disease, right? So you can have a valve replacement or 2 or 3. You can have a bypass or a double or a triple or a quadruple bypass. You have a heart attack, they'll keep you alive in the emergency room. That's their wheelhouse. So less people are dying from heart disease, at a great expense, by the way, but just as many people are getting heart disease. Obesity. For goodness sakes, it's tripled in the adult population. Well, it's gone up quite a bit. A third of children in the U.S. and a third of adults in the U.S. are obese. And these numbers have been rising dramatically while the MDs have been in exclusive control over the development and the delivery of medicine. The same with Alzheimer's disease. The Alzheimer's disease predictions are biblical and startling, as are the predictions for autism. For goodness sakes. There has been a 600% increase in the prevalence of autism over the last 20 years. A 600% increase in autism, while the MDs have been in exclusive control over the development and the delivery of medicine, to such an overarching extent that you, most likely, have been socialized to believe that everybody except the MD is a back-of-the-bus quack with substandard, dangerous training. Ironically, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, Dr. Benjamin Rush, saw this coming over 200 years ago. And Dr. Rush would be turning in his grave if he saw the status quo of medicine in the U.S. right now. Here's what he said over 200 years ago. To restrict the art of, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into a dictatorship. To restrict the art of healing to one class of men or women and deny equal privileges to others will constitute the Bastille of medical science. All such laws are un-American and despotic, and that is exactly what happened. In 1912, with the influence of the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, Congress granted the American Medical Association exclusive control over who could and who couldn't call themselves a doctor. Every other medical profession was kicked off of the bus of medicine. The chiropractors were kicked off. The naturopaths were kicked off. The homeopaths were kicked off. The herbalists were kicked off. If you weren't an MD, you couldn't practice medicine. Now, that's 108 years ago. We're fighting back, but my profession, currently only licensed and regulated in 20 states in the United States. Does that mean that the laws of nature or science change if you cross a state line? No. It is a turf war exclusively. The pharmaceutical industry and the MDs do not want you to know about my profession. They do not want you to have access to my profession. And inquiring minds would like to know who made the MD king. I mean, why is it the American Medical Association gets to say who can practice medicine and who can't? Why is it that the Food and Drug Administration has exclusive control over what passes as medicine? Did you know that in the United States of America, the only thing that can treat a disease is a drug? Did you know that? So that means if I discovered that buttercups, cured kidney cancer, that the Food and Drug Administration would make the buttercup medicine into a drug and you would only be able to get it if it was prescribed by an MD. Did you know that? Well, probably not, because that's what happens inside of a monopoly. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and you may wonder why I have a picture of a bloodhound here. Well, look, in the final analysis, medicine is like dogs. Different dogs for different jobs, right? Bloodhounds are good for finding lost people in the wilderness. Labrador retrievers are good for duck hunting, pheasant hunting, right? Goose hunting. Chihuahuas, yeah, I don't know what they're good for. But look, right, it's guaranteed. If you take a Chihuahua duck hunting, you're coming back empty-handed, right? Right. You need the right dog for the right job. Now, your medical doctor, your MD, may be the nicest person God ever created. But your medical doctor is not trained in medicine. Nobody's trained in medicine. Medicine is like a big umbrella under which there hang many disciplines. But the American Medical Association and the Food and Drug Administration only want you to know about the MD branch. They want you to think everybody else is a back-of-the-bus quack. It's nonsense. Your medical doctor is not trained in medicine. They're trained in allopathic medicine. I'm trained in naturopathic medicine, right? There's chiropractic medicine, homeopathic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, osteopathic medicine, acupuncture, etc., etc., etc. Your MD trained in allopathic medicine, which is an interesting medicine to talk about because in its philosophical roots, it is reductionistic. And this is an important distinction for you to understand. Reductionism argues that if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. So, since nobody has dissected the soul or the spirit out of the human body, nor seen it with an X-ray, an MRI, or a CT scan, it doesn't exist. So, your medical doctor practicing allopathic medicine is trained to believe that your body is a machine made of parts waiting to break, a biochemical machine waiting to break. There's no such thing as the soul. There's no such thing. Consciousness is a function of the brain chemistry. Consciousness does not exist independent of the brain. The body doesn't really have an inherent ability to fix itself, and illnesses must be managed with drugs. Sorry for the little typo there. This is a very important point for you to ponder. Your medical doctor is trained not to attempt to bring a person into a state of health. They're attempted to manage symptoms with drugs, right? So you get heartburn. Your health isn't restored. Your heartburn is managed with the heartburn drug. Your arthritis isn't eliminated. It's managed. Your asthma isn't eliminated. It's managed, and so forth and so on. This is the new normal. Orange is the new black, right? Everybody is on prescription medications all of the time, and the prescription medications do not bring the system into a state of health. They sweep symptomology under the rug and weaken the system over time. Now, this is in direct contradistinction to holistic medicine. And by the way, every medical discipline on planet Earth, except the MDs and the osteopaths, espouse a holistic medical philosophy. So, my profession, the naturopathic profession, Ayurvedic profession, the oldest system of medicine on the planet, the traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbalism, homeopathy, all espouse the holistic philosophy. And holistic medicine argues that the body is a system of interconnected parts. There is such thing as a soul, that it is in fact consciousness exists as separate and distinct from the body. Consciousness inhabits the physical body and brings intelligence to bear on the physical body. Holistic medicine argues that consciousness, the spirit, the spiritual essence of you, and different religions have different names for that, is running the show. Your body has intelligence. Your body grew itself all by itself from a single cell into the magnificent manifestation of you, and Right now, your body is orchestrating millions of biochemical processes all by itself outside of your conscious control. Naturopathic Philosophy 101. The body knows how to fix itself. The body wants to fix itself. The body's trying to fix itself. And it therefore becomes the naturopathic doctor's job, the holistic doctor's job, to develop and deliver treatments which support your body's ability to fix itself, i.e. to bring your body into a state of health. Now, which would you rather go to, all things being equal? Go to a licensed medical professional who is trained to manage your symptoms with drugs, which would weaken it over time, or a licensed medical professional who would attempt to bring you into a state of health? Which would you rather do? Well, hands down, you do the let's get me into a state of health, doc. Well, too bad, so sad. Your medical doctor may be the nicest person that God ever created, but that's not what they're trained in. They don't practice healthcare. They practice disease management. And there's a gigantic difference between healthcare and disease management. Now, there's room in the world for the allopathically trained, reductionistically oriented MD. They're fantastic at trauma care, emergency room medicine, surgery when it's necessary, and heroic interventions. Did you know that the vast majority of your healthcare dollars in your life will be spent in the last 3 years of your life? Through all kinds of heroic interventions which attempt to add 24 more hours to your lifespan. Well, isn't that great? Look, if you have a bullet in your leg, heaven forbid, or a broken bone or a bleeding artery, get thee to the MD because that's their thing. And oh, by the way, all of the leading innovations in medicine in the last 100 years have been with technology. Better diagnostic equipment, better emergency room equipment, better drugs for surgery, better surgical equipment, surgical procedures. But for chronic disease, let me say it one more time with emphasis, for chronic disease, MD-directed allopathic pharmaceutical centrist treatments do not make people healthy. Oh, by the way, they're the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States. Why is that? What's the most expensive medicine? It's the medicine that doesn't attempt to cure the condition. And they're the leading cause of death. Well, wrong dog for the hunt, right? Wrong dog for the hunt. But because of the monopoly which has existed for 108 years, you look around, the only medicine practiced in your hospital is MD medicine. The only medicine your insurance pays for, MD medicine. The only medicine that they make TV shows about, MD medicine. The only medicine that they do research on at the university you graduated from, MD medicine. Therefore, it's easy for you to think that, well, the MDs must be better at what they do than everybody else because they're number one. But the reason that they are number one is because they kicked everybody else off the bus. And they've maintained their position at the top with the unimaginable political power and wealth of Big Pharma. And look, thank God for Novocaine, thank lidocaine, thank God for insulin, thank God for the sterile technique and, general anesthesia during surgery. Naturopathic doctors are not against pharmacy. Sometimes it'll save your life and it's necessary. We are against medical treatments which weaken the body over time and fail utterly to bring the patient into a state of health. So, you go down the road of life, you experience a stress which is too much for the body, your body is destabilized and becomes symptomatic, a disease is born. You go to an MD, they have no idea what causes the disease. They have no idea how to cure the disease. So you're given a prescription medicine to manage the disease. And then a couple of years later, it stops working. So they increase the dose or they add a second medicine. And then you get another illness. You get another medicine for that and then another medicine and then another medicine. And then, by the time you're 65 years old, you're in a world of hurt, for goodness sakes. And then, heaven forbid, you experience a virus, you get infected with a virus or a bacteria, and you're going down for the count because your body was weak. Not because you got older, but because you took the wrong dog to the hunt. every day of your life. And don't even get me started on medical insurance premiums. What are you paying for when you're buying medical insurance? You're betting that you're going to get sick, number one. And number two, when you do get sick, your medical insurance only gives you access to a type of medicine which manages your symptoms and which weakens you over time. Oh, did I mention life expectancy getting shorter while the MDs have been in charge? It's nuts, for goodness sakes. Now look, I have a lot of friends who are MDs, right? Most of whom are surgeons, yeah, because that's their wheelhouse, and they all agree with me that this isn't about, MDs are horrible and bad and naturopathic medicine is the best thing since the sterile technique. We need a free medical market. We do. And if we had a free medical market, the experience in the United States of people's health would dramatically change, and there would be much less negative effects from things like viral epidemics. So, heaven forbid you become infected with, influenza or with this coronavirus. Here's what happens if you go to the hospital. This is all that happens, all that they do. They put a finger clip on you to check your oxygen levels in your blood, and if the oxygen levels get low, they put the cannula in, give you oxygen. Or if the breathing gets really, really bad because the particular coronavirus affects the lungs, they'll put you on a ventilator which breathes for you. You'll also get a COVID-19 test. They put a cotton swab up your nose, but that test only tests positive if the swab encounters a virus particle. What if the virus particle is a centimeter away from where the swab was or further down in your lungs? Not going to detect it. Not even sure why they do that test. They'll give you an X-ray, or no, they won't. They'll give you a CT scan because they have the CT machine in the hospital and they have to pay for it. So they'd rather give you a CT scan, which they can charge your insurance $2,000 for, than an X-ray, which they can only charge your insurance $500 for. That's how it goes. They give you IV fluids. Keep their fingers crossed and hope that you don't die, and that's the extent of their treatment. Now, the Trump administration just allowed the Food and Drug Administration to approve the use of a drug called Plaquenil, hydroxychloroquine, for the treatment of coronavirus. And you want to know how that drug works? It suppresses your immune system. That's right. It suppresses your immune system. Why is that a good thing? Well, because the way that these people think, when you become infected with a virus and your immune system becomes active, sometimes it can become overactive, and that's what causes extra mucus production and extra congestion in the lungs and extra tissue destruction. So let's knock down the immune system. Well, seems like probably not a good idea to me to do that. But nonetheless, this is their treatment strategy. This is their philosophy. This is what they do because it's what they were trained in. But from my point of view, juvenile. It's flipping juvenile. Wouldn't it be better to give the body nutrients and botanical medicines and homeopathic treatments, which have been proven, by the way, to bolster the immune system, to upregulate the immune response, to help the body recover from viral infections faster and easier? Wouldn't that be a better idea? How about food? Let's talk about food. Well, you're just going to get Jell-O in the hospital, right? For goodness sakes. It's inside out, upside down, and backwards simply because nobody even knows how to pronounce naturopathy, let alone know what the training of a naturopathic doctor is or what the possibilities of naturopathic treatment are. So to educate yourself more about this, if you have been enlightened here and you would like to find a local licensed and regulated naturopathic doctor, visit this website. They keep a running list, naturopathicmedicineinstitute.org. The naturopathicmedicineinstitute.org is a really good place to go for information about naturopathic medicine and to find a directory of naturopathic doctors in the United States. You can also visit my website, riseupintohealth.com, where I have all kinds of instructional videos like this, which walk you right through the simple steps, often the simple steps necessary to get on the other side of health, in a positive way. And this is what we're up to. Increasing health in a positive way. Isn't that a smart thing to do? I think that's a smart thing to do. If you haven't already, please check out my video on demand title, Shining Light on Coronavirus Madness. You can pick it up at riseupintohealth.com. Hope you learned a thing or two. Appreciate your time. God willing, in the creek don't rise. I'll see you next time. I am and always will be your steadfast advocate for health, Dr. Peter Glidden. See you around campus.